Hi everyone, it's me, Seely, and I'm back with another YouTube video. I'm super excited for this one. We have a bunch of new cards this time around in the game, and let's dive into one of my absolute favorite decks that I've been playing so far into the season. It is a fun one and it's great when it works. It will be a Nilfgaard deck. I feel like Nilfgaard has one of the more fun additions to the whole card pool that we got this expansion. So let's play around a little bit with some insane combos that you can do with the new cards. This is a deck that requires quite a few combo pieces, but once you get them, it is a dream when it works. It is so fun. It definitely makes up for a lot of giggles on the ladder. So I hope you like it as much as I do. Feel free to try it out and tell me what you think. Let's jump into the deck builder. We'll look at the cards. We'll talk about the general strategy of this deck. It's gonna be a fun time, so let's have a go. This is a fairly straightforward strategy, and most of your games are going to look quite similar. What you aim to do is to multiply and copy as many Artauds and Braathens, put them on the top of your deck so that you can go into a long round where you play a handful of only Braathenses, for example. And in order to achieve this, you will combine your Imperial Practitioners, hopefully create as many as possible with the tools you have available, and then you will switch a card from your hand, meaning either Artaud or Braathens, with your Vilgefortz to put it into your opponent's graveyard, then pressing the Imperial Practitioner to copy as many as possible. And in order for you to get as many Imperial Practitioners as possible, you will have to use cards like Idaren, Operator, and Megascopes. Now, in order to find your combo cards, we have a lot of tutors in this deck because we want to do everything we can to not miss out on the tutors. Now, this could of course not work 100% of the games because that's just the heart of the cards. You could definitely end up missing some vital card to the combination and be a little bit sad, but when it works like a dream. So don't get disheartened if that happens. We are trying to maximize the possibility of actually finding those cards with all the tutors we have, such as Curse Scroll on Blue Coin, Necromancy, Royal Decree, Alzur's Double Cross, and Roderick of Dantine. So we have a lot of chances to actually find our cards. There are some cards that we need in hand, in the opening hand, which is at least one Imperial Practitioner, either Artaud or Braathens. Those are kind of the main cards that we have to find in our hand, and the rest are tutorable. Of course, Curse Scroll can help to put one of these in your hand. Let's say you're missing both Artaud and Braathens, then you definitely want to make sure you find one of them with your Curse Scroll and put it into your hand. So to recap, a Necromancy can tutor out any card that you need, potentially a Defender to protect the Idaren. That is usually quite important. Or Operator, anything really that you're missing that you need. Then Vilgefortz, of course, is a vital piece of the combo because he makes it so that you can spawn base copies of the card they put into opponent's graveyard on top of your deck. And your Alzur's Double Cross, you can remember that it will tutor either your Idaren or your Vilgefortz. So if you find either of these in your hand, the other one is tutorable with the Alzur's Double Cross. Coup is a great assimilate value. You can use your Duchess's Informant in round 1 to copy an Imperial Practitioner from your opponent after you've played Operator and placed one on your opponent's side of the row. So the Coup is just a nice assimilate trigger to have, and especially if you played like 7 Braathenses and then you have a Coup, that's gonna be a huge assimilate trigger for you to have, so that equals points. Fion, of course, its main job here is to protect the Idaren, but it can also help with assimilate. Royal Decree can find any unit that you are still looking for example, the Thonid Turncoat, which is needed for you to find a target for your Artaud. If you find both Artaud and Braathens in your opening hand and you can't decide which one you want to make multiple copies of, I would suggest going for Braathens because you can clog your opponent's row with it by creating spies. Artaud is also great, but you have to remember that you need to enable a target for him to copy, which is by utilizing the Thonid Turncoat. And Idarin, of course, helps in spawning as many of the Imperial Practitioners as possible, while Operator does the job too. Roderick, of course, helps you tutor out a gold, anything that's missing to your combo piece or something you need for points. Experimental Remedy, on the other hand, is a great assimilate trigger. Maybe you can copy a Duchess's Informant that you put in graveyard with either coup or something that you played earlier and then is in graveyard. So it is a bit of a flex card that triggers assimilate. Then you have the Vital Imperial Practitioners. Really, you want to get one of these in your hand when you pull off the combo so that you can copy as many as possible. Now, Master of Puppets is here to seize a bronze enemy unit. Be a little bit careful of when you trigger it. Usually they are mulligan targets, especially when you're looking for your combo pieces. But in case of a scenario where you don't draw all of your combo pieces, so you can't pull it off in round 1, you have to play some cards before you can pass. And Master of Puppets definitely is a threatening card to play. The good thing about Master of Puppets and playing it round 1 is it goes into the graveyard, and then hopefully you can play your Illusionist on it, and it is quite nice value because the base copy of the Master of Puppets will be 1 power, and having a 1 power Master of Puppets is quite nice if you want to go ahead and swap a really big bronze. An example would be the Skellige Messenger. And those get quite tall, so Master of Puppets can definitely be like a good tech choice to have here. Diplomacy also triggers assimilate. The megascopes are meant to go on the Imperial Practitioners to get as many as possible. The Thoughted Turncoat is here to enable Artaud. The Emissary is just a nice spy if you do end up needing it. Most of the cards in this deck, however, are combo pieces, and maybe it feels a little bit confusing, but it will all be clear to you in the games that I'm about to play because I will demonstrate the strategy of this deck. Now, remember that you cannot pull this strategy off 100% of the time because you are going to miss your combo pieces in maybe 10% of the games or so. Should be kind of the average. Of course, you could get more unlucky, but you are pretty likely to actually pull it off with so many tutors in the deck. And if you are in the scenario where you don't have your combo in round 1, you can play out 3 cards, potentially pass, and try to pull off the combo in round 2. You might also be playing against something very, very control heavy, where they just kill enough Imperial Practitioners for you not to get value on them. In that case, don't worry about the Imperial Practitioners, just play them as assimilate units. Play for reach, then hopefully save cards like Braathens, Artaud for round 3 if you can make it there. And you're just gonna have to hope it's enough points. These can actually be a surprising amount of points by themselves with the combination of your leader. I'm mainly playing the double cross leader because of provisions, but of course it triggers assimilate as well, which can be very, very valuable. So let's jump into some games and I will show you what it looks like when the strategy is going to be pulled off. So I hope you'll enjoy those games. They are definitely going to be quite fun, I can tell you that much. I'm not including games where the strategy did not work, but like I said, don't be discouraged if it happens. This is a deck that you're meant to have fun with. So I hope if you play it, you will enjoy it when it works. Okay, we're about to cue our first game. Let's see what we find on the ladder. This is going to be a pretty interesting game for sure, and I'm hoping that I can find all my combo pieces, so let's find out what's gonna happen. Okay, so I'm getting blue coin here. That means I can utilize the curse scroll to find anything that I'm missing. Of course, it also means that I run the risk of losing on even, so let's not try to do that. We need to put points on the board as well. All right, seems to have found quite a few combo pieces here. Now I'm mulliganing Experimental Remedy here because I do not want to use it round 1. There's probably not going to be much set up in my opponent's graveyard. Same goes for Master of Puppets and Illusionist that really quickly flashed there. Illusionist is not great round 1 ever, so it's usually going to be one of your mulligan targets. Okay, I'm looking at my hand. I see both Braathens and Artaud, so I'm really happy about having found those targets. Of course, also the Practitioner there. which is kind of the main things I'm looking for. The only things that I'm missing really is operator here and defender. Now I'm looking at what tutors I still have in deck. I have a couple, and Roderick, of course, here will help me find a guaranteed defender. No matter what cards my Roderick shows, there's a way to get defender through those, so it seems like kind of the optimal play to start with. Now my Cursed Scroll also is enabled, so I can use that whenever I want and find kind of the missing piece. Alright, my opponent responds with Spores here. That's fine, my defender has not been purified, it is still on the board, so Idaran is somewhat safe here. He's gonna wait for those Megascopes to come down and the operator. Alright, so my opponent has put cards in the graveyard, which is good for me because in order to pull off the combo, you need to have something in your opponent's graveyard, otherwise it won't work. Okay, now I'm tutoring out the operator with the Cursed Scroll. The Alzur's double cross would be a 50-50 on either a practitioner or the operator. I put the Thonid Turncoat back because I say I don't need to make a Artaud target just yet. I want to focus on building my combo. I'm going to play the operator behind the defender here to protect the combo pieces, which are the Imperial Practitioners, and as you can see, this is the interaction with operator plus Idaran. He spawns an extra of those Imperial Practitioners for me, and my opponent has found one on their side of the board. They could press it here and get the Necromancy, I believe. That is sometimes something you have to give your opponent. But as I said, this deck kind of plays solitaire. It doesn't really care about the opponent's strategy too much. It just wants to put the combo pieces out on the board. So if our opponent gets a Necromancy, we'll let them. Hopefully we can have more points than them anyway. Here comes the first Megascope, sitting in queue. I'm playing that on melee row because I don't want to fill my ranged row, but it takes a little bit of time. My opponent can't really interact with anything on my side of the board yet.
Your magic can't harm me.
Opponent's gonna play out their Maxi. So here comes my second Megascope. And boink, here comes the little spawns. Getting a little bit wary of the point gap, definitely. Looking at my cards here, what I am going to do at some point is play the Vilgefortz to swap the Braathens. In a Keltullis matchup especially, swapping the Braathens is really nice because then you get to put units on their side of the board, which counters the Keltullis strategy quite nicely. Alright, I'm playing my last Imperial Practitioner here from Alzur's Double Cross because I'm not gonna Alzur's Double Cross anything else, really. So I might as well just use that one. Okay, so now we have quite a few of these on the board. We have 6 of them. I think you could play like a maximum of 7 or so. There's only so many Braathens as you can see. Even if you would create like 15, you obviously can play them all. Not that you could create 15, but but yeah. So definitely have to be a little bit careful here, as you can see with the point gap. Alright, my opponent actually has chosen to pass instead of pushing too much into this round, so I'll go ahead and play my Vilgefortz now and say that okay, 6 Braathens is gonna be pretty good for me to have. So I just put the Braathens back here. As you can see, I'm down at 3 cards while my opponent still has 5. I am unbothered by this because pew 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 pew, look at our deck. This is what happens. Yeah, now it's just off to a long round. I didn't even have to use my leader, which is really nice here. I'm super happy about this outcome. Okay, we find the Necromancy, of course, we find it back, and we put the Imperial Practitioner back as well as the Spores. We have quite a few Braathens to find here still, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pass here. See what our opponent is gonna play on a dry pass. Winning the round against Kelly in general is really, really nice. I don't know if that's gonna happen every game, but you can certainly try. And even if our opponent would have kept playing there, we had a pretty good reach with our leader. We could have played one more practitioner, used our leader, or just, I mean, leadered and build a forts. Probably would have been the play there if my opponent would still continue. But luckily they did give us a pass, so I'm happy about that. Opponent is unaware of what is going on, and they think, hey, my Keltullis is gonna be enough in a long round 3, maybe. Or they had a bit of an unfortunate hand in round 1 and could play much more into it. Okay, opponent has played the Aperian Phantom. Off we go to round 3, where we want to find the remaining Braathens. And one left. There we go. I'll take this. Looks like a cute hand. With an Aeromancy, we can tutor out a Thonid Turncoat to put spying on some unit that we can then use with Artaud. So to me, this looks like a keeper of a hand. Pretty sure I kept this. Didn't end up mulliganing anywhere. That is indeed what happened. Here comes the Sabbath. Spooky, spooky. We get 3 units on our side of the board, and so does opponent. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and probably play a Thonid Turncoat here. I would get a pretty good target to copy on the beast. I thought about just playing a Braathens first, but it's a decent copy target. Later on, my opponent's gonna play the defender anyway, so hey, why not make sure that I get something good here. The Idaran is a little bit iffy because of row space, but I'm fairly certain here that I don't have to play. I don't have to worry about row space too much. Which is why I placed the turncoat there on the range stroke. Could potentially have gone melee. Here I go, just starting to jam these Braathenses. Of course, I have nothing to copy because of that defender, but what I'm going to try and do is block their melee row. They're going to want to play Keltullis there anyway, so the more units I put there, the better for me, and that makes opponent want to probably play the Keltullis at some point soon. I boost the Thonid Turncoat here to make sure that she doesn't die to anything yet. Not that I really need her that much, honestly. She doesn't really have a unit to ping anyway, and I don't want to kill any of my 1-point units in a Kelly matchup or Keltullis matchup. Speaking of the devil, there she is. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my Braathens again and just jam another one of these emissaries. Nothing much I can do. I'm just thinking about row placement a little bit here and checking out if I can play these without capping my row. I am boosting the Velga forts here. I'm keeping the operator at 5 probably in this matchup just in case the Kelly could go through to it. The emissaries are good. I don't want to boost them because of course they are going to be dying to this Keltullis. Although this Keltullis player, I gotta say, has quite a few units of their own on their side of the board. So far the Keltullis hasn't done that much work. Here comes another Braathens. Is my opponent even surprised at this point? Well, the question is, what are we gonna boost? Yeah, not the operator, probably the Idaran. Yep, there I go. Seems like a good call. And this is a pretty funny state, a board state, honestly. Here is the Artaud into the beast. I figured might as well play it here. Why not? It's an engine after all, and if it doesn't die here, it'll still get a ton of points on my side of the board. Unfortunately, the journey of the beast has come to an end. Gone but not forgotten. Time for another emissary. Exciting stuff going on here. Very, yep, these plays definitely require a lot of thought. Am I going to play an emissary or an emissary? Or a Braathens or another Braathens? Choices are endless. Oh, looks like I'm gonna have to play another Braathens, huh? I think that's what we're gonna do. It's another emissary, of course. Alright, now I haven't played my leader yet because I want to trigger as many assimilate points as possible. Oh look, there's a piglet there that my opponent has avoided playing because they don't want me to copy it. I guess they could have played it on melee row before I blocked it, but hey, I'll take it, thank you. An opponent plays their Witch Apprentice on the board, meaning they're being really generous because now we have a better Artaud target. Sorry, Braathens, I mean. We actually get to copy the pig now. So the assimilate is going ham, as you can see, boink boink on the board. Really cool stuff, and I'm really happy that our opponent is still playing. A lot of the time you'll find that once people realize what is going on, they might not want to play the game until the very end. So I'm thankful to my opponent for making this YouTube video happen. Thank you so much. All right, Duchess's informant's coming down here, and we have 3 piggies on the board, and boom, 1 point finally pinged from that sorceress there, which I hadn't used the whole round. And as you can tell, the point gap is very, very big here. Unfortunately, for my opponent, they did not find that many points with that last swallow, so we quite nicely win the game, and this is a pretty good demonstration of what the deck looks like when it works. Okay, and time to jump into game number 2. Let's see another scenario against another deck and how the combo will fare in this situation.
Not all battles need end in bloodshed.
Okay, we have queued Skellige Reckless Flurry, a deck that definitely seems to find its place in this meta. I would say it's very, very popular for Skellige to go for right now. Alright, we are off to a good start. Diplomacy can go, it is not a combo part. A lot of the time you want to just mulligan cards that are not combo cards, not necessarily for the combo. Those are the cards that you kind of want to ideally mulligan. Alright, and we get rid of another turncoat that in turn finds us an illusionist, so now we have a pretty easy time to know what we're gonna put back with the cursed scroll. I open with the defender naturally. That is definitely a pretty good opener against Skellige. They are not looking to answer that right now, and that leaves us good time to play the Darren. Now I could go for the cursed scroll. As you can see, I don't have Braathens or Artaud in my hand, so here I make the choice that, yeah, I definitely want to copy a lot of Braathenses again versus Artaud, because Artaud requires a couple of extra steps just in making sure that you have a thonid turncoat to enable a spying on your opponent's unit. So the Braathens is just usually a choice I go for. Sometimes you don't have that choice, and you find Artaud, so he's a really good target as well. As you can see, we're doing the same thing as in the last game, where we are finding an operator here and just copying them with a Darren, and that looks really good for our side of the board. Blue coin again, so I have to worry a little bit about not losing on even. We can see a Wanderer wandering in opponent's deck right there. So just have to keep my eyes open and see how far my opponent looks to be playing. Coral getting decent value. Lucky for our mini practitioner there, he doesn't get hit by the Coral's fury. So let's play another practitioner behind a Darren, or the defender of course, with a Darren creating yet another one. It is looking a little bit scary if my opponent would decide to use flurry charges here. My 1 power practitioners are in a little bit of trouble, but so far so good. We'll see. Oh, there we go. Opponent does use a leader charge. Lucky for me, doesn't hit our baby practitioners. So yeah, pretty satisfied with that. They played a Gunning Slash to put my defender in their graveyard, and then now if they press the practitioner, they will actually get the defender on top of their deck. So that's a pretty nice thing for my opponent, but I'm not too mad. They didn't press it yet, but they definitely should. Okay, now I'm basically thinking, do I play another practitioner or do I look for Vilgefortz? I know he's guaranteed from the Alzir's double cross since I've already had a Darin played. So I'm just thinking, do I play one more or do I go for the Vilgefortz now? I'm not going to use my leader because my opponents could potentially pass after that, and I don't think I would want that. So I would just rather make sure to wait a turn before I play leader. The reason for why I would want a leader is potentially to make these practitioners grow a little bit. The 1 power ones are definitely looking a little bit scary for my opponent to hit with some flurry pings if they are willing to commit them. But yeah, now the practitioner was pressed. I remember that happening in one turn for some reason, but it did take a little bit of time before my opponent was like, okay, no, I should definitely press it. So yeah, good press. Here comes the Savior, but we don't really care about him. He doesn't do anything for my opponent's favor. We really don't worry about our graveyard getting banished here. Time for the Alzir's double cross to put the Vilgefortz, and of course put the Gutting Slash is ours, and Braathens is what my opponent can have. That is fine. And now we have to press the practitioners to put as many Braathenses as we were able to create on top of the deck. And we'll use the double cross here. There's nothing that would be more than the defender that my opponent got from the practitioner. That's why it's there if you're confused. Okay, and we're just gonna play the defender. It triggers Assimilate twice, which is pretty cool. So really nice that our opponent actually got it in hand from the Wanderer there, and we were able to hit it with our leader. We're heading points, but not by that much. Now I have created a lot of Braathenses though, so I'm able to tutor one of them from Royal Decree. And of course, triggering all of these Assimilate engines is going to be a really good thing for us, so I'm not too worried about losing on even here. 1 Braathens alone is going to be quite a few points. We did see our opponent's hand. We know that they have Unod, we saw the Quen, and then we saw the defender. The defender is there somewhere. Quen was just played. So let's see what I want to copy. I'm going to go for Royal Decree here. Take one of the Braathens side. Sure, play behind the defender. That works. 1 spawn is going to happen from Idar in here as well on the Duchess's Informant. I was going to take the Bear Witcher here first, but then I realized the Raging Bear definitely is better because of the Unod that we just saw. So we don't want to give my opponent any bloodthirst. And yeah, we triggered quite a lot of Assimilate there in 1 turn, so we are happy we didn't lose the round. And now we can go on to a long round with quite a few Braathenses in our pocket, meaning our deck. Flurry definitely still has good point output, but hey, we did our best, so let's see if all these Braathenses, the synchronized dancing group of Braathens, okay, they're not very synchronized when they're moving around there, I can tell, but it's fine, we'll forgive them for not moving completely in sync. And opponent plays a Bear Witcher on a dry pass, maybe because they know I have a lot of Braathenses and they don't really want to give me anything good. No bronze card to copy, really. Okay, I'm gonna mulligan the Taunted Turncoat and the Emissary. Horrible that we have to play a unit that's not a Braathens, but we still have 5. So our army is a little bit smaller here, but that's all good. We didn't find an Aeromancy and we didn't find Artaud, which is a little bit of a shame, but we're hoping that we just have enough points this way. Here comes the defender, probably meaning that I won't really be able to copy too much. I can place the Taunted Turncoat to begin with. It's nice to have a unit that I can boost with an Emissary on the board that isn't Braathens, because if I boost a Braathens, they are going to get pretty tall, and that is bad, of course. Playing into any Heat Wave or Axie, Morg, anything like that. Okay, so my opponent has a couple of units on melee row. I kind of have to make the decision here. Do I want to play Braathens emissaries on the front row in the hopes of blocking my opponent's front row, or do I want to play them back row and just use the emissary to ping them off? And I'm definitely going to make the call here to put them on the back row, because I don't think I'm very likely to block the row for my opponent to play a bronze, which I would get value from. And my opponent is trying to get a U-Nod here, perhaps. Not really working out. We saw the U-Nod there. There is a stunning blow, unfortunately removing our Braathens, but you know, that is what it is. I'm gonna place it here next to the Thonid Turncoat. Maybe I can coup the defender later and protect my back row. Maybe denying some tall removal later, who knows. Alright, there is a Gutting Slash. Now I can definitely boost the Braathens because it is almost dying and we don't want that. So we're going to play another Emissary here and ping it with the Thonid Turncoat. Not a lot of really important gameplay decision making we have to go for here, but hey, it's alright. I just gotta focus on playing my Braathens. My opponent discarded a unit and I checked what it was, and it is the Barification that got discarded here. My opponent didn't have a target for it. Okay, now I'm going to play my Braathens, play the Emissary. I'm actually playing this one melee because I figured my loose con might be like a Uridan. So I guess maybe the row stacking thing and protecting them with Defender might not be the best thing anyway, so. The Master of Puppet is definitely looking pretty unfortunate. Solid 4-point play, but I don't know. Do we need the points? We'll see. We're ahead by a pretty comfortable mile here. And I could coup the defender now, but no, I'm just going to maximize my assimilate value and just play for as many points as possible. And my opponent definitely didn't have a Uridan there. Nothing really that would beat our Braathens. And we can see another game where the strategy was really nicely demonstrated and it worked out. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you try this out yourself and that you're very successful in finding all the necessary combo pieces. And let me know what you think about this video. I'll be back for another one, probably a more competitive deck, but this one is sure a lot of fun. I promise you're gonna have fun playing this and pulling the Braathens army off. You're gonna sit there chuckling to yourself and the misery of your opponent. Classical NG things, am I right? Alright guys, make sure you like my video, leave a comment if you liked it because it really helps me. So thank you guys, I will see you for the next one.